Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and I am back. Took a little time off in the summer here to spend the week with my son, and I will touch on that in a little bit. But we have an episode to do, and I have a cigar to smoke. Now, today is going to be part one of a two-part Villiger week here at the Cigar Pulpit. And you know, if you haven't heard the news, then the reason for that will become clear shortly. But I will get into that in just a moment. First, though, I'm going to introduce the cigar I'm smoking. So today, I am going to be smoking the Villiger Limited Release Blend number 51. It is a 6 5/8 by 52 Bellicoso. And the reason it's a Bellicoso is if you look, it looks like just a standard, you know, maybe close to 7-inch long Toro. However, at the end there, it's kind of a hybrid cap. So it has kind of a rounded kind of cap like a Robusto or a Toro, but it also has a pointed tip like a Bellicoso. And so that kind of, you know, it classifies as a Bellicoso. But blend-wise, it uses an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper over Dominican binder and Dominican filler. Production was limited to 400 boxes of 10 cigars, and I believe this came out last year. It was 2024. This came out in 2024, and I've been sitting on it for a while. I was supposed to smoke one with René on the show, but you know, schedules what they were at the time. We didn't quite link up, and so I've been sitting on it, and today feels like an appropriate day to break out a special Villiger cigar. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the foot band so that I can do what I need to do to get this guy lit. According to some notes I found online, I should expect notes of creaminess, pepper, and almost a dry toasted flavor. But we'll see. You know, we'll get into it and we'll see. So, anyway. So it's time to cut the cigar. And the official cutting is brought to you by 2guyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. Two Guys have been around for 40 years, and they are the trusted name in the cigar industry. Everybody knows Two Guys, but if you don't, please give them a try. You won't be sorry. Family owned and operated, 2guyscigars.com does the very best to provide a great selection, fair prices, and excellent customer service. So head on over to 2guyscigars.com for your next cigar purchase. Tell them that the Cigar Pulpit sent you, and remember, that is the number 2guyscigars.com. And with that, it's time to go ahead and cut the cigar. I am using a different cutter today, too, and I'll get to that in a moment now. But I'll go ahead, you know what? I'll go ahead and touch on it now. So, we are smoking this special Villiger that admittedly, I kind of think I tore the wrapper getting that foot band off, so hopefully that just kind of smokes on by, and it's no big deal. I'm smoking this special Villiger because it was announced today, as I was prepping for this episode, that Heinrich Villiger, the leader of Villiger Cigars, the man that's been in charge for a number of years, third generation of his family to lead the company, he passed away at the age of 95 on Friday, July 25th. And so today we're going to be honoring Heinrich Villiger. And like I said, this is part one of Villiger Week here at the Cigar Pulpit, because we not only have this today, but then on Friday, if schedules, you know, continue to pan out, and I have no doubt that they will, René Castaneda, president of Villiger North America, will be joining me on the show on Friday to discuss not just what's going on at Villiger and maybe a little Pulpit Fest preview, but more importantly to discuss the the legacy and leadership of Heinrich Villiger. So, because it was under Heinrich Villiger that Villiger Cigars, came to North America and started doing what they're doing, and which has led to some of the great blends and cigars that we love here at the Cigar Pulpit. So, anyway, it's time to go ahead and light the cigar. And while I do, it's time for you to listen to the greatest commercial you've ever heard.
Some say cigars are all the same. It's just not true. It's you I have to blame.
Well, I don't know, 'cause what I know, there is a cigar called Aladino Corojo.
Aladino Corojo. Aladino Corojo. They say authentic, so we're not confused, while the others say it's a word that's just abused.
I guess that's so, they can't compete. At least I'm sure Aladino can't be beat.
Corojo. Aladino Corojo. Aladino Corojo. Aladino Cigars uses authentic Corojo tobacco from JRE Tobacco. This is the greatest commercial you ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, yes. So, the big news of the day is that Heinrich Villiger of Villiger Cigars passed away. And so, I'm first going to touch on a press release that the family put out, and then a little information that I gathered from a little short obituary that Cigar Aficionado put out. And so Heinrich Villiger passed away peacefully on July 25th, 2025, at the age of 95. His family announced on Monday. Heinrich Villiger was an active chairman of the board of Villiger Zuna Holding AG and Villiger Zuna AG until the end, and was the third generation of cigar manufacturers to do this tradition. Under his leadership, Villiger successfully developed into a renowned international company. Corina Villiger, the eldest daughter and member of the board of directors of Villiger Group, said, quote, "It is with gratitude that we bid farewell to our father Heinrich Villiger, who has led the Villiger family business strategically and operationally with great commitment for 75 years. He loved cigars and cigarillos and was a passionate entrepreneur and courageous visionary, setting a lasting mark on the tobacco industry in Switzerland and beyond. Our father leaves a big gap, the privilege of continuing the tradition of the family business into the fourth and fifth generations means a lot to us. Corina Villiger and Heinrich Villiger's grandson, Lucien Villiger, have been active on the board of directors for many years already and will continue to represent the family in this tradition, according to Rolf Kaufmann. With immediate effect, look, guys, some of this is like Swiss, so I'm doing my best. Juvo Grundler, vice chairman of the board of directors of Villiger Group since 2020, will take over as chairman. As part of the succession planning, Heinrich Villiger had determined that the chairmanship should be taken over by Juvo Grundler as an independent board member, as well as trusted advisor to balance the interests of the four descendants and their families. That way there's no infighting amongst everybody. Juvo Grundler is a lawyer and member of various boards of directors and foundations. Quote, Heinrich Villiger was an old-school patron who inspired employees, customers, and business partners with his unique expertise and innovative spirit and entrepreneurial thinking. We will miss him very much, Grundler said. Quote, at the same time, I feel obliged and honored to successfully develop Villiger Group's long-term strategy together with the board of directors, the executive board, and the teams worldwide in the spirit of the entrepreneur Heinrich Villiger and his family. So that's the press release that Villiger Cigars put out. And, that kind of obviously it pays tribute to Mr. Villiger, but it also, gives a little insight as to what's happening with the company. It's still going to remain a family-owned and operated company. Mr. Grundler is going to be serving as the chairman, so as to balance out the various interests and of the different family members involved. That way, it's equitable and one of the. It's always family working with family can get really interesting, and so it seems like Heinrich was very smart to set up a situation where family can continue to run Villiger Cigars, but there's an independent voice in the room that kind of guides the ship and doesn't allow family to start getting a little too personal. They can keep business and keep the family. And that's great. I think this is wonderful. Now, like I said, Cigar Aficionado did a very nice little obituary earlier in the day to kind of commemorate Mr. Villiger and his life. They found an interview they did with him in 2018, but they wrote a little bit, and in and amongst this, they pointed out that Heinrich Villiger worked in the family business for 75 years, a company that today produces more than 1 billion dry-cured European-style cigars every year. He was the exclusive importer and distributor of Cuban cigars to 5 countries in Europe. He built handmade cigar factories in Nicaragua and Brazil. He owned a large portfolio of premium cigar brands sold in the United States and abroad. And between Villiger's machine-made products and handmade cigars, his company exported to 80 countries worldwide. I mean, guys, like I've said on here before, Villiger is a huge company outside of the United States. In the United States, they're relatively new, and they're still introducing themselves to all of us, the cigar smokers in the United States, as a brand. But around the world, Villiger is like a powerhouse, so it's something to keep in mind. The company was started by Villiger's grandfather in 1888 as a cigar manufacturer in Switzerland. Heinrich worked alongside his father and uncle until his uncle sold his share to his father. Eventually, Heinrich's father died, making Heinrich the sole shareholder. He joined the company in 1951, became very active in purchasing tobacco for the machine-made cigars, which were sold in Europe and then the United States after World War II. Some of that tobacco was from Cuba, and Villiger was able to form a unusually strong relationship with Cuba that lasted until the day Heinrich died. In 1989, Villiger established Fifth Avenue Products Trading GmbH, which became the exclusive importer of Cuban cigars for Germany, Austria, and Poland. He was also partial owner of Intertabac AG, which distributes Cuban cigars in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. But Villiger started making inroads into the United States market when he started Villiger Cigars North America in 2016, which manufactures and distributes brands such as Villiger Nicaragua, Villiger 1888, Villiger 1888 Gran Reserva, Villiger San de Colorado, the Cuellar Caribe, La Libertad, all the ones that we've come to know and love. And Villiger Cigars North America would be the arm of Villiger Cigars that René Castaneda is the president of. And so that's kind of where we're at. Mr. Villiger, he took a family-owned and operated company, and he blew it up, and it became a big deal. He jumped into the North American market, 9 years ago, and that is and they're doing it right, a nice slow and steady growth into the North American market. But yeah, no, we lost Mr. Villiger this weekend, and given his contributions to the cigar industry, but then also quite honestly and very personally, indirectly, his contributions to the show, through the sponsorship by Villiger Cigars, my relationship with René, it was very important to honor, Mr. Villiger. And so, like I said, today I'm smoking the Villiger Limited Release Blend 51. I'm using my Villiger Perfect Cutter, and we're taking this moment to remember Heinrich Villiger. And like I said, on Friday, René will be with us to discuss Mr. Villiger and his thoughts, feelings, legacy, thoughts on the legacy, and then also his personal remembrances. I mean, René obviously knew Mr. Villiger, so it's an opportunity for René to tell some stories about him. So, yep. So that's where we're at now. Unfortunately, last week, while I was off the air, hanging out with my son for the summer, last week was a ridiculously busy week as it pertained to celebrity deaths. Noah and I very prematurely did our celebrity death show. We had some big ones. So, it kind of started with Connie Francis, who was a singer. She was an older singer, but she had recently gained some notoriety when one of her songs was being used on TikTok, and she was gaining some popularity again because of that. But Connie Francis passed away, and then Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo on the Cosby Show. He had a very unfortunate accident in the ocean swimming with his daughter, and he passed away. And then from there, we lost metal legend Ozzy Osbourne, which, not to brag, he was on my list. But the point is, that was sad, and I've heard "Mama, I'm Coming Home" probably about 1 billion freaking times since he passed away. So I get it, guys. It's his ballad, and it's appropriate, but, we don't have to beat it. I'm not going to finish that statement because, he wasn't beaten to death, but still, we don't need to do it to a song. Then from there, we lost pro wrestling icon Hulk Hogan at age 71. Truthfully, I didn't see that one coming. I will say it didn't quite surprise me, because I'm not saying that, I think it's pretty well known that he did take some steroids. That shit'll hurt you. It'll do things to you. So, Lord only knows what condition his heart was in, because I believe I read that it was cardiac arrest. And so, unfortunately, the Hulkamania died last week. And then Chuck Mangione. Chuck Mangione passed away last week as well. And for those of you who don't know Chuck Mangione, there's at least one song you know of Chuck Mangione's. But, that's okay. But I wanted to touch on Hulk Hogan for a second, because that one's been, of all of them, it's been very interesting to watch. A lot of outpouring of love for Malcolm Jamal Warner, tons of outpouring of love for Ozzy Osbourne. And Ozzy Osbourne, I want to give him his flowers real quick here. So that he did that final concert on July 5th, and he didn't take a single dime from that concert. He took all of the proceeds, all the money off that concert, and donated it to Parkinson's research, which is what he had. He had Parkinson's, and he donated like $190 million from that one concert to Parkinson's research, making that concert one of the largest fundraising concerts in history. And what's really cool is now I read a report where Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins came out, and he said that music needs to do a annual benefit concert in Ozzy's, honor, where it's the same kind of deal. You get all these, badass musicians together. You do a really, really kick-ass giant arena show. You make a just shit ton of money, and you donate it to a worthy cause, and try and do that. And I love that. That if there's anything, that comes of it, then great. I think that would be a wonderful use of their talents. Let's be real; they can play one show and not get paid. I mean, they're all wealthy enough, and I'm not saying this like a class warfare thing. Like, you've got money, you can afford. Do a little good. Do a little good. Throw a little good in the world, and it'll come back to you. Ozzy. It's funny because everybody, Ozzy Osbourne, he's the Prince of Darkness, and he's evil, and blah blah blah, and all that. And the guy did a lot of freaking good. He loved animals. He was. I mean, aside from bats, I guess. But nonetheless, and that was an accident. If you actually know that story, he didn't realize he was doing what he was doing until it happened. And then it's like, oh, shit, So, whatever. But no, Hulk Hogan, that's the one that I kind of wanted to touch on. Sorry, I'm keeping the cigar going. So Hulk Hogan was larger than life when I was growing up. He was a freaking real life superhero. Muscle bound, clad in the red and yellow, telling you to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and be kind to your mother. And he was the good old American, superhero. And I remember watching so many, I would rent the tapes from the video department at the grocery store of the old WrestleManias and watch Hogan, where he's body slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 in front of 90-something thousand people. And it's just, he was a showman, and it was fantastic. And, his bouts with the Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior and oh my God, when Sergeant Slaughter went bad and Hogan had to stand up for America because Sergeant Slaughter was betraying us to the Middle East, and everything, right around the time of the Gulf War and shit. And it's like, here comes Hogan, and he's got Rick Derringer's, Real American blaring, big as life and everything. I mean, it was fantastic. It was pure 80s. It was awesome. And, and it's one of those things where Hogan had to reinvent himself. So when he eventually was kind of boring at WWF, he moved over to WCW and, got in and became a bad guy, and he was in the NWO and all that. And there's a whole generation of people that remember him from that. But Hogan, in his personal life, had some issues. There were some things that were said and caught on camera and on video, on audio. And, he said some things that, I mean, they were racist, and Hogan, he never truly apologized for some of that. He kind of half-assed danced around, apologized. At one point, the wrestlers in the locker room at WWF, Jesse Ventura was getting them riled up and working towards, creating a wrestlers union. And Hogan went to Vince McMahon and ratted out the boys in the locker room to Vince. And Vince squashed the union and everything. And Jesse Ventura, I don't think he ever, is going to forgive Hogan for that. And it's just look, Hogan was a human being in that, like, he had his persona, his public persona, but he could do some downright shitty things. And it's one of those things where you gotta kind of determine like, how much are you gonna hang the guy for it forever? You know, it's like theoretically, if if a buddy of yours commits murder and goes to jail for 30 years and comes out, technically he served his time and he deserves a second chance. Some people are going to hold it against him forever. Other people are going to say he served his time and give him that second chance. I don't know if Hogan truly got, I get he did, but like from some, man, I don't know. I'm not convinced that Hogan got his second chance. But then again, I'm also not convinced that Hogan served his time. He never really, I think, was really put in the corner and forced to like own up to some of his more negative thoughts and opinions that he put out in the world. But it's one of those things. He was a complicated man, and now that he's passed, I don't think it's time to litigate everything. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of shit about him this week, and of all of the people that died, he was the controversial one. His endorsement of Donald Trump, that was something that came up that was controversial. And, that's the thing. There's things that Hogan did later in life that people had opinions about. And I don't necessarily know if, they weren't all positive. And so it's one of those things where when he passed, it was a little more controversial. Some of the statements that I saw online were just shitty. Like, there were people talking about dancing on his grave and this and that and whatever. I don't think anybody deserves that. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think about it. Like, there's really nobody that I truly hate. There's nobody that I wish that level of harm to. And so, I find it very fascinating when somebody has that reaction to a celebrity that they've probably never met. I guess it's just internet trolls trying to get internet points, but it's shitty, and I don't dig it. But anyway, yeah, for me, Hulk Hogan's always going to be that, balding, mulleted, Fu Manchu mustache superhero. That's got the 27-inch, 24-inch, 27-inch pythons, and he's oiled up and ready to beat the shit out of somebody. That's the Hogan that I'll always remember. So it's one of those things. Hulk Hogan was great. Terry Bollea, his actual name, he was a man, and he did some things that maybe we don't all agree with, but whatever. Such is life. All right. So now that we've kind of gone through the in memoriam of the last week, let's go ahead and do this now. It's time for the Villiger Cigars Entertainment Report, brought to you by
Villiger.
Villiger Cigars, one of the leading cigar and cigarello manufacturers in the world, founded in 1888 and still family-owned and operated. Head over to VilligerCigars.com and check the store locator to find a shop near you that carries them. We guarantee that Villiger Cigars will be a wonderful addition to your humidor and cigar rotation. So this Blend 51 it's nice. It's maybe a touch more than mild, like a medium minus, a light medium, maybe. There's a smidge of the peppery spice on it, but it is a relatively smooth, kind of creamy cigar. I'm digging it so far. I'm really liking it. And the draw on it's been really nice. I did use that Villiger cutter, which is a perfect cut, and took off a little bit there on the end, and it's drawing really, really nice. So for the Villiger report today, I'm doing something a little different, because truthfully, I haven't really watched a whole lot. So the last time I spoke with you guys was, let's look at the calendar. Look at the calendar. Look at the calendar. It was Friday. Friday the 18th was the last time I spoke with you guys. And that day, I picked up my son, and that was the start of our week in the summer. And so Max and I, we hung out from Friday the 18th through Friday the 25th. And there was all kinds of shit that happened in that week. Obviously, and if we want to go the typical route for this segment, I watched a fair amount of Storybots. I watched a fair amount of Thomas. And Mickey Mouse Clubhouse started coming back into the picture. That one's been around. It hasn't been around, for a number of years. But we've gotten back and we've added Toodles and the Mouse Tools and all that into the picture. And so we had some Mickey Mouse Clubhouse come into the picture, which, that's fine. Mixing it up. I don't care. But, no, what I was really entertained by this week was, obviously I did have to work. I did have to put a paper together. I did have to do the deliveries and all that and everything. But, Max and I, we got to hang out. We went to the splash pad a couple of different times. That kid loves to swim. He just absolutely loves to swim. And while we didn't do a pool, I don't know how many of you guys have these splash pad parks in your area, but it's a section of typically of a park, and they've got lots of sprinklers, little fixtures that spray water on kids, and the one that we go to has like this big bucket that fills up, and over time it fills up, and then it just dumps a shit ton of water on these kids. And the kids all hover underneath where it's going to dump the water. And when it starts getting close, the kids think that they know, when it's going to drop. And they start counting down from 10. And if they get to 1 and then 0 and it doesn't happen, they start at 10 again. And they just keep counting until it finally drops. And it's cute. It's fun. And so, I'll go up there with him and he'll run around and burn energy. He'll do that for 45 minutes or better, and then from there we can find some lunch or something like that. But that was a big thing. We did the splash pad a couple times this week, just to try and beat the heat. I don't know about you guys, it's been hotter than shit here. We're in corn sweat season, where the corn releases the water vapor and creates a shit ton of humidity. So it's been just brutally hot here this week. Past week even. We had to beat the heat. But, book-wise, what have I been entertained by book-wise? Pete the Cat. We've been reading a lot of Pete the Cat. Told the story of, I read the story to Max about the time that Pete the Cat was hungry for lunch, and he made himself a sandwich. But he didn't know what he wanted on the sandwich, so he just put everything on the sandwich. And then the sandwich was so big, he couldn't eat it. So he called all of his friends, and they all came over, and they were like, we're hungry. And he's like, well, I got this big sandwich. You want to split it with me? And they did. And everybody got a piece of the sandwich, and it was great. And the moral of the story is that sharing is cool. And so that was that. That was nice. And then what other stories was there? There was the one about, getting dressed. Pete the Cat was getting dressed, and he asked everybody, what's your favorite piece of clothing that I have? And they told him, they're like, we like your red shirt, we like your yellow shirt, your blue shirt, we like these pants, we like these shorts, we like these shoes, whatever. And by the time he was done surveying everybody and looked at himself in the mirror, he looked like a clown. And so at that point, he took everything off. He put on his favorite shirt, his favorite pants, favorite shoes, blah, 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 and all that. And at that point, he was like, I look cool. And the moral was just be you and you'll be cool. So Max loves Pete the Cat. And this book that I'm talking about, it's a collection of different stories. So what will happen is he'll have me read the first story. And then he'll read the second story to me. Then I read the third story. He reads the fourth. And we go back and forth like that. I think there's maybe 7 stories in the book total. So I end up getting the short end of the stick. I get 4 stories and he gets 3. but that's okay. You know, I'll deal with it. But no, it's fun, and we we do a lot of reading. He loves books. You know, it's a tactile thing. Like, he loves flipping pages. I think he loves the sound of the paper flipping. He really loves Bibles. Loves Bibles. I think it's that very thin Bible paper, because he'll flip those pages super fast. And I think they flip and sound really good to him. So he loves Bibles. He's got a bunch of different Bibles. But otherwise, you know, we colored, we played with trains, you know, it was a positive week. I'm not saying it was totally positive. My son is 9, and I do suspect that I am on the very, very, very fringy edge of the beginning of puberty. Because there were times this week that he was a very defiant little fuck. He just would, no, and didn't want to do things. And, you know, it was a little unusual for him personality-wise. But, you know, we made it work. We made it through. We didn't kill each other. I've probably had more Chipotle in the past week than I care to admit. The kid could eat Chipotle all day long, every meal. It doesn't matter. He loves Chipotle. Yeah, so that was that. But that's my Villiger report. I spent the week with my kiddo, and, you know, it was fun. I'm glad I did it. I appreciate you guys being patient and allowing me to take the week off so that I could do so without having to worry about, you know, putting him to bed and then coming out and recording at night and staying up late. Because that's the other thing, man. He goes to bed at a decent-ish time, but every freaking day between 5:45 and 6:15, oh, that kid is wide awake. And it is brutal. And I am not an early riser. I had to get up early again today. It's like so many reasons. It's just, I am not an early riser. And so he has jacked my sleep schedule all up with this week. But that's okay. I will get that under control as well. So anyway, there we go. Now, I do want to go see Fantastic Four. That came out this past weekend. I've not had an opportunity to do it. Potentially, I may go to the drive-in tonight after I finish recording, editing, and uploading this episode. I don't know. It all depends on what time it is and can I take a brief nap? Because I don't know if I can make it through a trip to the drive-in on the amount of energy that I've got right now. But if I can get a little bit of a nap in, I might go see that because Fantastic Four did very well this weekend. I think it looks really cool. I love the retro vibe to it. I'm kind of digging that, and so I want to go see it. You know, Marvel, they've had some misses, but they're always going to get me to come out and see their shit. So it's just a matter of like how quickly I do it. In this case, if I wouldn't have been coming off of my weekend with Max, or my week with Max, I might have gone to see it this weekend. I had other things that I was doing that I felt were more important than going to see a movie. But in this case, I might go see the movie tonight because why not? Bring some cigars, you know, sit out. Hopefully it's cool. That's the other thing. It has to be cool because even at night it has been freaking stupid hot. And it's the lack of wind. It's the lack of a breeze that is causing it to be so unbearably stupid hot. I do think we're supposed to get some rain later this week, and it's supposed to cool it down. Like, I think by Friday they're seeing the 80s, and that just sounds delightful. Anyway, well, let's move on now and do this. Maybe. What the hell? All right, well, that's not working. I don't know why that's not working. So I will go ahead and plug it in post. It's time to fly high with Blackbird Cigars. Blackbird Cigars offers you remarkable quality using the most delicate and finest tobacco to always ensure that you're receiving unsurpassed cigars. Blackbird Cigars strives to give you undoubted repeating flavor for every cigar you smoke and impressive quality so that you can always expect greatness. Check out their website for a full list of stores carrying Blackbird Cigars and give them a test flight. Blackbird Cigars can't clip our wings. Okay, so the story today is about Johnny the Bagger. Johnny was a young man with Down syndrome who worked at a grocery store as a grocery store bagger at a supermarket chain in the United States. His job was to bag groceries and help customers out to their cars. One day, his company brought in a motivational speaker to talk to employees about making a difference in customers' lives, and Johnny took it to heart. He went home that night and had an idea. He would find a positive or uplifting quote every day, print it out, and put it in every customer's grocery bag. With help from his dad, Johnny printed dozens of quotes each evening, cut them out by hand, signed the back of each one, and every bag got a little note with a smile. Well, customers began lining up at Johnny's lane, even if other lanes were shorter. When the manager asked why, they'd say, quote, "I want Johnny's quote of the day." People began to return to the store not just for groceries, but for a daily dose of kindness. Soon others in the store were inspired too, and the florist began handing out flowers to lonely customers. The meat department began decorating packages with colorful labels. Employees were no longer just doing their jobs, they were creating moments of joy. All because one young man decided to bring a smile to others with a simple quote. Johnny didn't have a lot of power or money, but he had heart and the belief that small things done with great love can matter. His story became nationally known and is now shared in leadership and customer service trainings all across the country. So guys, be like Johnny the Bagger and Blackbird Cigars, and don't let anybody clip your wings. I love that. I love that. I have a little note on my phone of quotes that when I find it or hear a quote that hits me and sticks with me, that I wanna remember, I type it and put it in that file, and look, there's not like there's a ton, but it's one of those things where sometimes when you need a quote, you keep it where you can find it. Here, I'll go over a few of them with you, because why not? I got time. We're only 42 minutes into this thing. I got plenty of time. Otherwise, I'm cutting this off early, which I guess I could, but we'll do some quotes and then we'll cut it off. So the first one that I have here that I heard was, quote, "If you want to know where your heart is, look to where your mind wanders." And I liked that. I thought that was very nice, very pleasant. Another one, and this one I've used this one with people before, and this one stuck with me. It was really, really weird. The word decide has the same root as the words homicide and suicide. Why? Because when you make a decision, you kill off 1,000 other options. I love that. I think it's fascinating. I like words and I like language and structure and everything, and like it's a very interesting quote to me. Here's an Oscar Wilde quote that stuck with me. "To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist." I thought that was really good. Here's one that was important to me, a few different times. You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the old ones. You got to move on, One that I think everybody needs to keep in mind. Don't take criticism from people you wouldn't go to for advice. There's that. And then I'll skip a couple. And then finally, I'll end it with this. "We have two lives, and the second begins when you realize you only have one." So there you go, guys. Some inspirational quotes for you from the pulpit this time. It's why not? We'll go that way. Anyway, yeah, I'm not gonna belabor the point. I am coming back. I didn't really have full disclosure. I was supposed to record with René today, for Tuesday. However, with the passing of Mr. Villiger, we had to delay that a little bit, and totally get it. So I figured this is an opportunity to talk about Mr. Villiger and, kind of get to the subject that way. And then, Friday we can circle up and get a more personal look at him. So, yes, coming up on the show on Friday, I'll have René, and we're going to do a more personal look at the life and legacy of Heinrich Villiger. In terms of the socials, I am available on Instagram at The Cigar Pulpit. I am on Facebook, where we have the Pulpit Parishioners group, and get in on the fun there and show off what you're smoking and interact with everybody. It's a good time. I'm on Twitter/X. You can watch this on Rumble and YouTube, or if you use Spotify, we have both the audio version and the video version there, so you can do Spotify video and watch this on Spotify. I do need your calls for the Ask the Pulpit episodes. You can give the hotline a call at area code 863-874-0000. That's area code 863-874-0000. And there are a few general admission tickets left for Pulpit Fest. I know that Eventbrite says that there are more. Realistically, we are coming up on the cap for admission when you take capacity at Ken's Place into account. So we're very, very close to being done. So, guys, if you're in the Florida area and you want to come to Pulpit Fest, go on over to eventbrite.com, search for Pulpit Fest 2025, and get yourself one of those general admission tickets. It's $35. You get 30 of it back in in-store credit, so it's really only $5 plus some taxes and fees that Eventbrite tax on. You're going to get an awesome goodie bag. You're going to have a lot of fun. There's going to be folks from Villiger Cigars there. There's going to be folks from Aladino Cigars there. Justo Aroa is going to be there from Aladino Cigars. René, Castaneda, and Hector from Villiger are going to be there. I know René is going to be there for the VIP dinner on Thursday. I think he might have to bug out sometime on Friday. Unfortunately, I don't think we have René for the full weekend now. However, look, guys, things change when the chairman of the company, passes away. So, you gotta adjust on the fly. But Hector is an amazing guy. He is so nice. He's so knowledgeable, and he is the Treymac of Villiger Cigars. Not quite as crazy, but he's super nice, super personable. And if you didn't meet Hector at last year's Pulpit Fest, do yourself a favor, sit down and talk to Hector this time, because Hector is an amazing man, and he is going to be there the whole time too, telling you all about Villiger Cigars. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. And then for those of you who listen to the Cigar Authority, Dave Garofalo and Ed Sullivan are going to be at Pulpit Fest as well. Now, they are paid attendees. They are coming of their own volition. They are paid attendees. And so Dave has flat out said on the Cigar Authority that he will not be singing and dancing. He will not be my singing, dancing monkey. I will not be able to get him to do things. He will be sitting in a chair talking to all the rest of you as if he were just a consumer. And I think that's wonderful, because I don't think he probably gets to do that nearly enough. So I look forward to hanging out with them. And then Ed's going to be hanging out with my dad in Curmudgeon Corner, which that'll be fun too. So anyway, guys, come on down. Ashen Ale, Palm Coast, Florida, August 22nd through the 24th. If you live in Florida, drive on over. Palm Coast is a wonderful area. It is probably one of the little secret gems of Florida. It's not all developed up like all the rest of Florida. It's not super busy. It's not obnoxious like the rest of parts of Florida. It's quiet. It's quaint. It's wonderful. Mom and pop restaurants all over the place. You can get some amazing food there. And you can go down to Flagler Beach. That's where a lot of the really good restaurants are, along Flagler Beach. But you can go down to Flagler Beach and see the ocean. It's half an hour south of St. Augustine, which St. Augustine is an amazing historic town. You can go up there, walk along St. George Street, go on over to Stogie's on St. George, and check them out. But there's some really great stuff in St. Augustine. There's some really great stuff in Palm Coast. If you're into the Daytona Beach scene, you're half an hour north of Daytona Beach. Personally, that's a little fast for my taste, but I'm old and boring, I guess. But anyway, guys, come on out to Pulpit Fest. It's going to be a wonderful time. You're not going to want to miss it. Otherwise, I've enjoyed what bit of this Blend 51 that I smoked. I'm going to enjoy sitting here after I hit the off button on the recording and finishing the rest of it. And I'm throwing a little smoke up in the air for Heinrich Villiger. So, guys, I thank you once again for being patient with me, letting me have a little vacation with my son. I'm probably going to start building that into the show calendar going forward. I did it last year when I had him for a week. Last year in July was a freaking train wreck because I moved. I had Max for a week. It was all over the place. This year I just had him for a week. Thank God I didn't move. Oh, my God. But anyway, so I'm probably going to start building that week into the calendar just because it's kind of nice being able to just chill for a minute, take the week off, and concentrate solely on spending time with my boy. So I got that to look forward to. But anyway, guys, oh God, hopefully this button works. This has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick. Everybody, stay safe, stay smoky. Thanks, everybody.